In this episode, I'm interviewing Tim Stuewer. He's the Director of Operations Support. He'll talk to us about all the different areas that his organization covers, and he'll also explain how branch operations can better leverage their corporate resources. Good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Dana. How are you?
I'm doing well, too. Welcome to the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. We've been doing it for about a year now, and it's high time, obviously, that we got you into an interview and kind of see what's going on in your organization. So, Director of Operations Support, how long have you been with Alsco?
Almost 6 years.
Yeah, in April or something?
In April.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I know you've been in the industry for a long time as well as other industries. Tell us a little bit about how you got to Alsco in April of 2019.
Yeah, so prior to that, like you mentioned, I was in the industry with another competitor that was acquired by Cintas. Mm-hmm. And when I came to them, I was in the window and door industry, more in manufacturing. That was more my background. And heard about this opening. A colleague mentioned about a laundry. And I thought, well, laundry? I was an engineer and doing more engineer-focused activity at that time, and thought, what do they need an engineer for at a laundry? I'm not even allowed to do the laundry at home.
Right.
So,
I bet you could if you really wanted to.
No, there were a couple of mishaps.
Okay.
I was excluded from laundry activity, but it was interesting because I didn't know anything about the industry. You know, now we all see the trucks all over the streets,
right?
And we all notice them all the time. And it's funny how your mind just tunes that stuff out if it's not something you're alerted to. And I go into this facility. It was in St. Paul. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to see a bunch of, like picturing home washers and dryers. Right. And it's this massive complex. There's garments going all over the place, slings moving around, gigantic machines. And immediately I was like, oh, I guess I can understand why engineering and these other functions
is so important. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got into it, I loved it. Loved the people. I loved the challenges. I think we have some of the more complex challenges, in the manufacturing world.
Yeah, huge variety for sure.
Huge variety, a lot different day to day.
Yeah.
Not as predictable. You're not making a widget or a few widgets day in, day out. And it became fun. And start working with the people that, they're enjoying it, you're enjoying it. I loved it. And I was at G&K, they got acquired by Cintas. I knew I wasn't going to stay at Cintas. And when I exited there, I had a non-compete. So I had to stay out of the industry for 2 years. I really had no intention at the time or plan to get back in the industry, although I really enjoyed it, like I said. But when that time was coming up, and it was probably coincidence, Jim Kearns reached out to me through a colleague in the industry. And I knew of Jim, and I knew of Alsco, certainly had a good reputation. And I thought, yeah, I'll listen. And Jim came up to Minneapolis, met me for dinner. We talked and kind of started from there. I felt really good.
Had your role been similar previous?
Yeah, it was very similar.
Okay.
So what I do today, our teams are responsible for safety and production, engineering, fleet and routing, the service excellence, formerly ROC team. Certifications. Central stock rooms, and then our sourcing or supply chain.
Right.
So very similar, probably everything except the supply chain component and the certification and testing had that responsibility previously.
And so even when you came in, we were kind of in this moment of change too in 2019 when you came in. More changes, of course, came in October of 2023. So your role has really mutated and grown over the time, even if the general areas that you've been responsible for maybe have not changed too much. So at that time in 2019, that was kind of when we started making our big push and initiative towards safety, hence the safety and production team, and bringing you in, Jay Addis, over that group. Talk a little bit about how that safety journey has been going, and what do you think comes next for us?
Yeah, so it has been a journey. I think you said that really well. And it's been neat to see how this team has responded. And it's been a culture.
Yeah.
When 2019, like you mentioned, everybody knew of safety. I mean, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
But truly understanding how you're performing, where you're at, what's a path to get better, it was fun to create that, and started with, the S&P, the safety and production team, helping to lead the charge with the branches. And the branches did the absolute heavy lifting on getting us.
Well, it's kind of where it has to happen, right? Otherwise, it'll never fully change.
Yeah, but I guess it's an easy one. I think everybody can understand why it's important and what needs to be done, but it's maintaining that mentality every day, and that you don't take it for granted. And we've changed. I mean, you can look at numbers, but in the end, it's you, myself, everyone else coming home safe at the end of the day. That's the real measure. But we've made steady improvement, and that hasn't happened by chance. It's happened because people understand it, people see the need, and with some framework and guidance and help along the way, people have taken it and run with it. 5S is a great example. It is so neat to go into so many of our branches today and just see the change. I get that benefit to go into a branch, and then maybe I don't see it for months, maybe years, and then come back into it, and you just see a completely different branch and a transformation. And the branch teams are proud of that, and they should be. Right. And that is a huge.
That's what I was going to say. 5S always seemed like it's something that is easily understandable by everybody. Every branch, no matter what their footprint or their particular challenges are, they could participate in that. Every single person could find a path to participate in that and to improve from 5S. And of course, 5S kind of is a foundational element maybe for creating a safety culture. But I saw it was such a point of pride for people too. Yeah. Like in some of the older facilities or whatever, where you thought, well, if I can't remodel it, what could I possibly do to make it better? And yet they were really finding ways.
Yeah. And I think that's something too that should not be underestimated. I mean, we have newer facilities and they look amazing. Yeah. But those teams that had, like you said, an older facility, and they've taken it and transformed it to where it looks like a showpiece.
Right.
I mean, I'm proud walking through it. Any customer coming through it would be impressed. That's just very impressive, what they've done. And everybody should feel really proud of that. So now, it's the next steps. Right. We're trying to get safety committees into every branch and active. We want as much frontline. So we want production employees. We want RSRs to be active voices in that.
So we started really maybe with more of a management bent in our safety committees. We've assigned a facility safety officer in every branch. And then I think over time, now that it's taken hold, we're really making strides to bring in those frontline employees, right?
Right, exactly. And when you're starting something, it is, your managers are the first that have to own it, and then they have to take the rest of their team through the change and why this is important. So those managers, and appreciate them doing so, and leaders stepped into those roles and started to be active in those safety committees. And I think they have over time realized that, hey, if I really want to move this to the next step, I need to get those frontline folks.
Let's talk a little bit about vehicle safety, because that's kind of the dark horse maybe. We've got over 2,000 vehicles on the roads every day. We, of course, are not the only vehicles on the road. So what we can contain inside the four walls looks a lot different than what happens when we get out on the road. So talk a little bit about vehicle safety.
Yeah, so vehicle safety, I mean, some have probably heard me say this. It's probably the item that keeps me up at night, because our RSRs and those driving the shuttles, they have such a huge responsibility on the road. They can be the best driver, but they have to just be ready for anything happening around them as well. And we are lucky. We have a lot of good drivers in our organization, but they play such an important role. Yet they have to manage their customers every day. They're handing deliveries inside and outside the truck. There's a lot of areas for them to be exposed to something to go wrong, or an accident or injury. So there's a lot that they need to keep on top of mind. We absolutely have to get away from distracted driving. It is such terrible things, and we all have seen the stories, and I know there's people in our organization that's touched home or family or friends where some really bad things have happened, and
we've probably all done it at one point too. It's too easy to do.
It is. But that's one that every moment, any of us, and it's not just our RSRs or delivery departments, like you said, it's all of us. When we're behind that wheel, we have to be focused on that task at hand.
Yeah. So let's turn our sights from safety now. And you had mentioned the RSRs, of course, being kind of the first face or the face of Alsco to our customers, again, on a daily basis. That's another group that is under you, is the formerly known as the ROC team, Retain Our Customers.
Yep.
And what have we rebranded them as?
Service excellence.
Service excellence. Okay. So what is their charge? How can they help inside of a branch or region to improve customer retention?
Yeah. So that team plays a lot of different roles, and that's the reason for that change in name. Everybody on the team, it's no different. The roles, in essence, aren't different, but retaining customers is maybe a subset. I mean, we want to be excellent in service.
Right.
And the way that team interacts with our branch service teams and our depots to look at customers at risk, making sure our service teams are set up, trained, capable of handling those. If I have a situation where a customer isn't satisfied, let's walk through that. How do you handle a situation like that? What can you see for reports that may give you an indication that customers may not be happy?
Right.
An attrition dashboard, for example. And then all the training that comes along just with the new RSR, CSC, a DM.
Well, it's kind of a nice balance too, because sometimes when you get too close to things, which the RSR is meant to be close, and then you bring in an outside party, they can help you find that best balance between, hey, you've been doing this frequently and oftentimes it works, but have you tried this or have you thought about this? And of course, they're working with district managers and service managers as well, not just with those RSR ranks, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, day to day. I mean, there may be weeks that a service excellence team member is focusing almost solely with a DM. There may be a new DM in a position, maybe a new service manager. So they adapt. They will work with any person within that organization where the need is. They're going on route rides, which is absolutely important. I mean, we all should be doing that from time to time to really understand what the challenges are that our RSRs face on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, they're engaging in a lot of different elements and aspects. So it's a pretty broad role.
So most of the parts of the organization that you oversee are corporate resources. So safety and production, we've got one person for each region. Engineering, we have similar. Service excellence, the same. So how do you think that the regional managers and the branches can kind of best leverage those corporate resources? What have you seen that really works when somebody welcomes those people in rather than maybe is a bit concerned about them coming in?
Yeah, and I've seen, heard, witnessed a lot of really good examples of inclusion and just leveraging that resource, because our overall team is operations support.
Right.
If we're not supporting the branches, then we have no reason to exist.
Right.
So we have to make sure day in, day out, we're providing support that the branches and our depots need. So I've seen a few different things. I've seen some regional managers will make a point of having a weekly call or check-in with their support teams. I mean, that can include HR and other areas that fall outside the operations support team, but anybody that's in that type of support mechanism for them, they'll pull those individuals in together on a call, and that regional manager will talk through issues, what they're seeing, what they may need. It's a good time for those, whether it's an engineer, safety and production, the service excellence team member, to give feedback to the regional manager. I think it helps to set priorities and their focus. So I always try to make a point with those teams, if your regional manager is setting A, B, C as priority, A, B, C
is your priority. Right. No need to try and talk them out of it
Exactly. And we're pretty lockstep. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a nice cadence with each of the regional managers. Sometimes the regional managers will have a quarterly or some period a year where they'll bring the folks in, and they've been extremely good about including these individuals. And I take that as they see it as a value add.
Yeah.
They're helping them. They're there. They want them to be part of the group. And I certainly hear that from my team. I know they have an immense amount of appreciation when they're asked to be included, when they get that call. I mean, and that's what I tell the team too. We know we're successful if we have branches or regions calling.
Right.
When are you going to come? When are you going to be back? hey, can you help me with this? I mean, if you're getting that type of interaction, you're providing them what they need.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, as we all are, but you and I spend a lot of time together as it is, and this is just a little bit of a different venue for us. So thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be able to do this, so I appreciate the ask.
That's all for today's episode of the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Alsco Uniforms, where we explore the growth and challenges in our industry. Tune in next time for more industry insights, growth strategies, and tales from the field. If you've enjoyed our time together, please leave us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to learn more about our services, visit us at alsco.com. From all of us here at the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast at Alsco Uniforms, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you in the next episode.